so this is our very last example, and it's nothing that I will ask you to do on your own in your homework or on an exam. I think it's just it's a fun example, and it goes really perfectly with this lecture, so that's why I want to talk about it. So an old Chinese fable tells the story of a man who invented chess. The Emperor of China was so pleased that he asked the inventor to name his prize for the invention. The inventor asked for 1 grain of rice for the first square, 2 grains of rice for the second square, 4 grains of rice for the third square, 8 grains of rice for the next square, and so on, doubling each time. How much rice was just the last, or the 64th square of the board worth? So let's look at this. The first square was worth 1 grain of rice. The second square was worth 2. The third square was worth 4, which is 2 squared. The fourth square was worth 8, which is 2 cubed. Do you see a pattern? So the fifth square is 16. That's 2 to the fourth. So then the sixth square would be 2 to the fifth, and so on. So the last square, since there's 64 squares, would be 2 to the 63rd. If you put that in your calculator, it is such a large number, your calculator screen will not be able to hold it. And it will show you something like 9.22, and it will have a long space and then 18. Or it might have an E and then 18. That's how your calculator will display scientific notation. So that's the first little tiny piece. So if you put 2 to the power of 63, if your calculator has the caret sign, it would be caret. If it has an x to the y button, that would be replaced with x to the y. It'll show you 9.22 and then probably a space and then 18. So it's just trying to write 9.22 times 10 to the 18th. At first, the emperor was offended, thinking that the emperor was offended, thinking that the inventor asked for too low a reward. If a single grain of rice weighs 4.4 times 10 to the negative 5th pounds, how much did just the reward for the last square weigh? Well, we have our 9.22 times 10 to the 18th. That's what we got on the last slide. That's how many grains of rice there were. And the next number is the weight for 1 grain of rice. So if we multiply those, we will have the weight of rice that's just on the very last square of the chessboard, not even the whole chessboard. So this is a perfect little scientific notation example, see? So we'll take our number times our number and get 40.568. The exponent times the exponent, 10 to the 18th, times 10 to the negative 5th, will be 10 to the 13th. Now that number is not scientific notation. We have a 40. We need it to be 4.0568. So if I make my number smaller, I make my exponent bigger. So there it is in scientific notation. That's over 405 trillion pounds of rice just for 1 square of the chessboard. Okay, now here's the follow-up. Here's the clincher. The total reward is more than what could be harvested in 80 years if all the Earth's arable land could be devoted to rice. In order to get even with the inventor, the emperor insisted that he count his reward to ensure that the emperor was not stealing from him.